Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Big news in hip hop today. A lot going on in the hip hop world. The biggest thing, though, is Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion, two of the greatest rappers on the planet, two of the biggest stars on the planet. They're beefing. And for a lot of people, the source of the beef, the origin of the beef is unclear. So I want to break down a little bit of what happened in the last 24 hours to give y'all some sense of what's going on. Because for a lot of people, this is crazy. I want to start by saying, this beef, at least this iteration of the beef, this moment of beef seems to begin from Megan Thee Stallion dropping Hiss. For those that don't know, Hiss is a track that Megan Thee Stallion dropped last night, and it's fire. I gotta say, I haven't loved a lot of the hip hop that I've heard lately. I haven't loved a lot of the music that people are putting out, but Megan Thee Stallion dropped it. She also dropped this lyrical video on her YouTube channel. So I'm just gonna give y'all a couple bars of it to make sure we got fair use. And I want you to hear what she said, because she had bars reserved for lots of people, but one of those people seems to be Nicki Minaj.
These hoes don't be mad at Megan. These hoes mad at Megan's law. I don't really know what the problem is, but I guarantee y'all want me to start.
So y'all caught that, right? She said, they not mad at Megan. These hoes don't be mad at Megan. These hoes mad at Megan's law. For those that don't know, and I think most of you do if you're following this story at all, if you're following hip hop at all, that is a reference to Megan's law, of course, is a law against sex offenders. It's a reference to Kenneth Petty, Nicki Minaj's husband and the father of her beloved child. Apparently, according to the law, according to public records, Kenneth Petty, who I don't know, I have nothing good or bad to say about, don't know the brother, is a convicted sex offender based on a rape charge that he received when he was 16 years old. And we know that that has been a site of criticism, and it's come up again when they were attempting to move to a neighborhood in California in terms of having to register with the neighborhood. And so she mentioned Kenneth Petty. She said these hoes be mad at Megan's law. Now, she made other jabs in the song. Some were about people who she dated. Some were about people who talk trash about her. She had bars reserved for Drake. And again, Drake is part of Young Money. Drake is part of Nicki's crew. So you could also see it as a double kind of a diss toward Nicki, because not only she dealing with her directly when she's talking about her husband, but then also something else. And I want to play something else for you real fast that she said that seems to be the Drake diss, because I think this connects to Nicki Minaj as well. Listen to this. Because if you remember, just for some context, Nicki Minaj, her label mate Drake and friend Drake threw a shot at Nicki on his album, effectively questioning the legitimacy of her claim that she was shot. Right. And a lot of people, myself included, were like, why is Drake getting involved in this? But if you remember, he said on the song Circo Loco, he said, this B lied about getting shots, but she's still a stallion. She lied about getting shots, but she's a stallion. So a kind of double entendre about BBLs, getting shots, getting injections, whatever, but she's still a stallion, saying that Megan Thee Stallion is lying about getting shot. And so she clearly had a reason to have some feelings about Drake. So she also responded to Drake again, which seems to connect to the Nicki piece of this. So I don't want to ignore that. I don't want to ignore that part of it either, because I think it's important when we talk about the origins of this beef, which is what I'm trying to get at here, because I think it's actually quite interesting from a cultural perspective, from a hip hop perspective. As a hip hop head, I care about it. But here's what she said.
Around with the same scars, real curvy, no edging. Niggas fight on BBL and be walking around with the same scars, real.
I'm gonna say it again one more time.
Shit stick. All these little rap niggas so frauds. Saying they be they hardest bars. These niggas hate on BBL and be walking around with the same scars.
these niggas hate on BBLs and walk around with the same scars. So she's saying, again, she's alluding to Drake's bar, right? The injections, right? She lied about getting shots, but she's still a stallion. And then she responds to Drake by saying these niggas hating on BBLs, but walk around with the same scar, saying that Drake has gotten work done. I don't know if Drake's gotten work done or not, but a lot of people on the internet say Drake has gotten surgical work, etc. So she's throwing a pretty layered, interesting, intricate bar back at Drake, which I think is kind of interesting, given the fact that Drake is known for extraordinary wordplay, subtle, layered disses. Some of them are so subtle people don't even get them. I mean, think about the back and forth he had with Diddy after their fight over that beat. I mean, he was throwing shit, the ha 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 ha's, the take that, the victory line, all that stuff was Diddy disses that came up pretty strong. So that was that was Nicki Minaj coming forward, and that was Megan Thee Stallion coming forward and throwing a heavy shot at Nicki Minaj. Nicki didn't take long to respond. In fact, she responded so fast, I would argue, and I think anybody would argue that knows this business, that if she responded this fast, Nicki already had this in the tuck, just waiting. This is the KRS-One style. So here's what Nicki put on Instagram right after. This is from Nicki Minaj's Instagram directly. Again, I'm using their platforms, and I'm using them with fair use. Here we go.
Play it acapella, you man. Play it acapella, because I just thought I'd have a little fun. I've been, we've been celebrating all year.
Hey yo, bad bitch, she like 6 foot. I call it Bigfoot. The bitch fell off. I said, get up on your good foot.
So she played it like 3 times, 4 times. In fact, she played it like 1 million times, right?
Wait. I play it again, you man. I don't point.
Hey yo, bad bitch, she like 6 foot. I call it Bigfoot. The bitch fell off. I said, get up on your good foot.
So bad B, she like 6 foot. I call her Bigfoot. B fell off. I told her get up on your good foot. So saying she fell off, suggesting that she's, making fun of her size, saying that she's too big, saying that she fell off, and of course saying she fell off, get up on your good foot. Again, playing on words. Making fun of the fact that she got shot. To me, making fun of somebody getting shot in the foot is wild. I mean, it's a good bar. It's a damn good bar. But to me, it's beyond the pale. Now, some of y'all are going to say, well, don't start none, won't be none. Some of y'all are going to say, well, if Hiss isn't made, then Nicki doesn't put that out. And so the origins of this are rooted in Megan Thee Stallion's choices, not Nicki's, because she started. That's what some of you all would say. And there is an argument for that, right? That's what it might sound like to a lot of people, because the first thing y'all gonna say is, well, they were cool. They were good. They made Hot Girl Summer together. A couple years ago, they was tight. They were straight. They were making music together. They were dismissing the idea that the negative stereotype that women rappers can't elevate and still stay cool, right? So how did they get from Hot Girl Summer and hugged up and loving each other to this? Well, I'm gonna give you my theory, but I also want to give you a very clear sense that the beef didn't start with Hiss. I don't want you to think that Megan just came out with a drive-by on Nicki, or that Nicki just had that in the tuck waiting for Megan for no reason, right? This goes back a little bit longer and a little bit farther than some people would care to acknowledge. I think the first sign of the beef is some 50 Cent logic, right? 50's logic has always been, if I'm beefing with somebody and you stand next to him, then now we got beef. Think about his beef with Ja, and then New York comes out. Now Fat Joe's standing next to him. Oh, well, now I got beef with Fat Joe, right? So it's that I don't rock with anybody who stands next to my enemies. And Hot Girl Summer comes out in 2019, but then if you remember, Nicki did a collaboration with Cardi B called WAP. Y'all remember WAP? WAP was a bigger song. WAP was a better song, better video. You know, I think Nicki's a better rapper than all of them. This isn't about rap. This isn't about bars. But I'm just saying it's a song. WAP was better. Ever since WAP came out, we're hearing about the tensions between them two. So I think the origin of this beef is probably Nicki not being happy that Cardi and Megan did a song together. I don't rock with it, that logic, but that's what people say. And then the Barbs, right? Nicki has her fierce loyal fan base, the Barbs. There's hotties, there's the Navy, there's the Beehive. All these people got their own crews of fans. But Nicki's fans are, and Lil' Kim, of course, is the OG of this. Shout out to Lil' Kim, of having these amazing fans too. But it seems that the first crew, the first aggressive crew here that got things going was with Nicki's fans, right? And they started pressing Nicki Minaj on something. I mean, they started pressing Megan Thee Stallion on something. What did they press her on? Well, Nicki Minaj took to her own radio platform, Queen Radio, and on Queen Radio, she started talking about an issue that she had. You'll hear the issue and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about here. K Love said Nicki's just being petty. That's up to y'all to decide. We'll see. But I want you to hear. I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this and get a sense of what Nicki's talking about.
A very different person from what y'all are used to. Like, that's the problem. They can never predict me. That makes them very aggy. A lot smarter than you bird brains will ever understand. Imagine telling someone you didn't want to drink, because you were at the time possibly, pregnant because you were actively, trying to have a baby. Imagine if that person say, "Oh, girl, you could go to the clinic." Imagine posting photos that you're pregnant and the person doesn't even like it or say congratulations. But then when you post that Beyonce sent you flowers congratulating you, the person then tries to attempt to send you flowers thinking that, oh, I can use this opportunity as I use everyone else. She'll post that I sent her flowers. I didn't even let them shits in my motherfucking house. Clown.
So after WAP comes out, there's now this other issue, right? She's saying, and it's clear she's talking about Megan. You can trace it on the internet. You can see the flowers. You can see you can see all this stuff, the Beyonce piece of it. And basically she's saying, look, Megan Thee Stallion offended me when she offered me a drink. When I said I'm not going to drink because I'm pregnant, she then said, or I'm trying to be either way. She said, girl, you can go to the clinic for that. Now, Megan says that. Nicki responds, she feels a way about that. It's an interesting situation. Because now the Barbs are involved. Megan's fans start going after, Nicki Minaj's fans go after Megan Thee Stallion now, and they're starting to say, well, is this all true? And so, of course, because it's the internet, There's always receipts. There's always proof, right? So you had moments like this on September 11th, 2022, where Nicki Minaj says, or a fan of Nicki Minaj, again, one of the barbs says, Nicki is accusing you of encouraging abortion and child endangerment with alcohol. This isn't something to stay quiet on, right? And she writes back, lie, right? And then it goes back and forth. There's a back and forth. You know what I'm saying? But the back and forth is mostly with the fans. Nicki isn't responding directly, and so this is still like a cold war or a proxy war. It's like Megan's people against Nicki's people, and they're arguing back and forth, but nobody's saying names exactly. But this intensifies the what is a very clear tension here, and so that becomes another wave, another layer of the beef. Is that suddenly you got her making an allegation on Queen Radio, Nicki responding and feeling some level of tension, right? And it keeps going though. It keeps going. By the way, on the Nicki Instagram, she didn't just make fun of. I forgot to mention this part. She didn't just make fun of the shooting incident. She also just made fun of her rapping ability. I'm gonna play that for you as well. So she's making fun of her, saying she bit her style from Bun B and Pimp C, maybe even that she looks like him. You know, all these other kind of disses, right? I'm not sure if it's a bad thing to rap like Bun B or Pimp C if you're from Houston and you came up underneath that culture, that tradition. That's like that ain't nothing wrong with that. But it's an interesting situation, right? Because again, Nicki's not on camera doing it, but she's throwing this stuff out. Then, of course, today, the next day after Nicki drops this on Instagram, Megan goes to Power, goes on the Breakfast Club with Envy to break the record, to talk about the record, to drop the record, Hiss, and she says "Hit Dogs Holla," and Nicki must have knew I was talking about her, and of course Nicki knew she was talking about her. I mean, the Megan's Law is a pretty irrefutable bar. Like it's hard to say you weren't talking about her after that, and so it seems that this is also part of the history of their stuff, but it goes back even before that, right? Because again, I don't want y'all to think Hiss is the first shot. There's a track FTCU, which y'all know, right, on Nicki's most recent album. And if y'all didn't get Nicki's most recent album, you should listen to it. It's worth listening to. Whatever you think about albums, whatever you think about hip hop and the state of hip hop, make sure you support women artists. Make sure you listen to them. No Name had a great album out this year. Nicki put out a great album this year. Make sure you listen to all the artists who put out great albums this year. Waiting for Cardi, waiting for Megan. But she has a line where she says, "Stay in your Tory lane, B. I'm not Iggy." Right? She said, "Stay in your Tory lane, B. I'm not Iggy." So when you say that, there's a couple things happening there, right? Iggy Azalea is alleged to have dated Tory Lanez. Iggy Azalea and Nicki Iggy Azalea and Megan Thee Stallion had a kind of beef. A lot of us over communication about doing a track together, doing a feature. You can see on Twitter, I don't want to go all down that rabbit hole, but you see a lot of that stuff going on too. So they very clearly had an issue. So the Tory Lanez thing is both a way of getting at Megan, but also it was a way of getting at Megan, and it was a way of like saying, look, not only am I getting at you, saying stay in your lane, but I'm also telling you that I'm still going to bring this Tory thing up, which is crazy, right? As a bar, I'm saying I'm not taking a position on it right now, although I will in a second. and then mention the Iggy Azalea thing so that there's no confusion about who she's talking about, right? Because again, Megan and Iggy had an issue in 2019. Iggy was supposed to be dating Tory last year. And if you remember correctly, Iggy Azalea got panned. She got criticized widely for writing a letter in support of Tory Lanez during the trial. So it's multiple layers of this is Nicki, if nothing else, is a writer. She is a lyricist. She got bars. And so this becomes the backdrop for it. So I don't want you to think that Hiss was the first shot. Hiss might, from Megan's perspective, I suspect she would say, I've been absorbing all these disses and shots from everybody from Partisan Fontaine to Drake to Nicki. And so Hiss is my chance to come out and say, I'm gonna let the chopper spray on everybody. That's one way to think about it. And Nicki was waiting for it and had her own bars. I suspect you're gonna hear a Nicki song, not just what you just heard, but you're gonna hear a whole song soon, a whole diss track, I suspect. And we haven't had a good beef lyrically like this, where it's a good back and forth. You know, Sheether was fire when Remy did it. We see some other things. Machine Gun Kelly and Eminem had a spirited exchange, you know, but a lot of times these beefs be one way. One person's going and other people don't. But at the end of the day, the question for me is, you know, what is the origin of this? So I'm gonna sum it up because I've been breaking it down. I think the origin of this beef is at the most literal level. The origin of the beef is Megan doing WAP, and from then on it's been downhill. Megan does WAP, and Nicki ain't been happy since. Megan does WAP, and suddenly there's lots of issues since, right? And I don't know who's right and who's wrong. You know, I don't know what the deeper psychological issues are around beefs and stuff with any rappers, whether it's 50, whether it's Nas, J, M, Benzino. He just got dissed by Nas on I'm sorry, Benzino just got dissed by Eminem, excuse me, last night, or early yesterday on a track. But the one thing you got to say about Nicki is, you know, she's had an issue with Lotto. I think that started a couple years ago. She's had a long-standing issue with Lil' Kim since 2007. Again, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I don't. I've heard both sides. She got beef with Cardi. That almost got physical. And that started, I think, right after Motorsport came out in 2017, which, by the way, I like that song. Cardi does well. Nicki murders the beat. Nicki's actually in the pocket, murders the beat. But Cardi was growing as an artist. I like both verses, honestly. Iggy Azalea, she's had a beef with. She's had beef with Remy Ma, as we all know, right? Azalea Banks. And so, you know, there is the common denominator question of, like, if Nicki's got all these beefs with all these rappers, and Megan doesn't seem to have beefs with any rappers, any women rappers, maybe the question is just why. I think it's a fair question to ask, why does Nicki end up with so many rap beefs, especially with women rappers? Now, some would say it's because she's at the top of the game and everybody comes for her and she's defending herself. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. Others would say it's that she doesn't have healthy relationships. That's also possible. I don't know the answer. But here's what I do know. I know that the way that beef in rap is a competitive cultural practice. It's a competitive sport. People go at it. You go back to the bridge wars. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's the bridge, whether it's kill that noise, whether it's bridge is over, whatever, right? It's not like it started now, and it's not like it started with women. But there's a particular way that it seems that women rappers are encouraged to beef, that women rappers are encouraged to fight each other, that women rappers are encouraged to have a single spot that they all got to rumble over. One of the beautiful things I think about 90s hip hop, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be nostalgic, but it was different. You know, MC Lyte, and I'm not saying there wasn't no real Roxanne shot. I'm not saying there wasn't no beefs. But when you look at the elites, Queen Latifah, Miss Melody before Queen Latifah, right? In terms of coming out of the bridge, coming out of Boogie Down Productions. But if you're talking about real rappers, like Roxanne Shante, Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, you know, these artists weren't fighting each other. They were making tracks together. when Lil Kim became the hottest rapper in the world, in I would say the mid 90s, certainly by 96, she and Foxy were the hottest women rappers in the world. But Lil Kim was rocking with um Queen Latifah. They were making songs together. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm saying that just to say it's possible that women can hold it down together and not fight. And I don't think there's anything inherent about women. This isn't some stereotype about women being catty or anything like that. I think it's men. A lot of times we encourage we encourage the fight. We encourage women to say, well, okay, who's the best woman rapper? Or is it this? Is it this? Is this? So like Drake and Cole and Kendrick can make songs together. Drake and Cole for sure can make songs together. It's probably a better example. And even when there's competitive tension or bars or disses or whatever, it's still very much within the context of competition, right? And even Jay and Nas for years before the actual battle, you know, etch your name out, put Jigga on top, right? It was a moment where it was just lyrical. You know what I'm saying? And it was fun and it was competitive. But with women rappers, it's like we don't encourage that kind of behavior. We don't encourage that kind of sisterhood, right? It's like, oh, we got to make sure that everybody is beefing. We got to make sure that there's a tension. And I think some people play into that more than others. You know, I think Foxy played into that more than Kim did. You know, Foxy seemed to also have a lot of beef. It's interesting that when when Nicki lined up with somebody against Remy, it was Foxy. It's like, all right, two people who seem to have a lot of beef with a lot of people. But I'm not blaming them either. I'm just saying, like, we have to create a context where women don't have to fight each other, where women don't have to beef with each other to be successful. You know, I wanted to break down the origin of it so people don't think it started yesterday. That my old school hip hop head in me. But at the end of the day, we got to move beyond that. And hopefully these sisters can figure out a way to not beef. Nicki Minaj is, you know, the next generation age-wise, right, of rappers. So I want her, as she is around 40, I don't know if she's 40, 41, whatever, or a little younger, a little older, whatever. I want her to be ushering in the new generation of MCs who are 18, 19, 20, 22, 25 years old. I want her working with them, creating space for them. I want Megan Thee Stallion to be creating space and opening up space for the next generation of young artists too. I want them making songs together, albums together. I want them building together. I don't want them beefing, because too often in hip hop, beefs end up physical, beefs end up personal, and I don't want to see that for anybody. So hopefully this ends peacefully. Hopefully they figure out how to stop this, or at best, or at worst, you know, they keep it lyrical. They keep the beef stays lyrical and it just turns into a lot of hot bars. But when you start talking about Megan's Law and abortions, and I mean, that's hella personal, and I don't think that that's on a route to stay lyrical. So maybe they'll get there. I hope they get there. I hope they all get peace and love. But either way, we gotta fight on our hands. And unlike in other beefs, sometimes both of these people can rap. You know, Nicki's probably a superior lyricist, and a superior she's a better rapper, right? But Megan came out on her A game. So I can't wait to hear what comes next. So anyway, family, that's it. I'll see y'all later. We'll talk soon. Peace.